Thank you for joining us, everyone. Our theme is around product innovation, and I think we've heard several times today already mentioned that customer experience innovation is as much a mindset as anything, particularly when it comes to meaningful innovation. We need those collaborative relationships, but that's all driven by having a really clear vision of what we're aiming for. Diana talked about having the trust from the board, which again is another component of this. If I could just ask you to maybe introduce yourselves, actually just briefly, but also to say how innovation plays a role in the jobs that you do. Duncan, would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to start. Hi, everyone. My name is Duncan Patillo. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at Flair Airlines. I resonated really well with Diana's story about the struggle 2023, if anyone knows anything about Flair. And we're on a path of revolutionizing our airline. And so part of that revolution is going to be how we innovate and how we work with our partners, not just from a transactional perspective, but make meaningful and long-term relationships and innovating our partners with that relationship. We want to grow with them and do better with them.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Duncan. Welcome. Caroline.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline, and I'm Head of Ancillary Products and Retail at SAS. And I think when it comes to innovation, we really want to be the #1 airline in the world when it comes to ancillaries, so that there's a lot of new thinking. And I think for us, it's being bold. It's the recipe for being innovative.
Fantastic. Yes, and we'll come back to that. There's a whole. It's such a good topic. This. Caroline, welcome.
My name is Caroline.
Oh.
Hello. Yeah.
Thank you.
My name is Caroline. I'm Director of Ancillary Products and Partnership within Air France KLM. And innovation, yeah, that's our middle name within the organization. Not everyone likes us within the organization because we start the change, which is in a company within Air France KLM. Yeah, sometimes new, but we are in. I think the dynamics today that we really want to indeed further personalize, etc., where we have to review all our ancillary products again, how we can, adjust it to the customer needs, the operational challenges we have, and optimize the revenue. But we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Caroline.
Yeah.
Paul, welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Paul. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Data Clarity, and as the name of the company may suggest, a lot of the work we do is helping airlines unlock the value of the data they have, because today there's an incredible amount of data that they have access to. It tends to be quite siloed and quite owned by different departments, and part of our strategy and vision is helping airlines unlock the value of the data they have, and work in partnership with them to do things like give passengers a much better experience, far more personalized, and hit things like sustainability goals by leveraging AI to forecast onboard demand.
Cool. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Duncan, if I can come back to you, you mentioned there about the role of innovation is about for the long term. Again, it's that mindset. It has to be strategically aligned. So what are you doing at Flair Airlines in terms of particularly, we've talked about the Buy on Board program and how that is evolving, but in a way that's strategically aligned to what you want to achieve as an airline organization?
Yeah, great question. And I took over this role in March, and we saw a huge set of challenges in our Buy on Board product, not just from a product offering perspective, but from a management perspective and how we wanted to align and streamline. And so instead of what would be traditionally innovative and throw things at the problem, we stripped it all back. We removed any fresh food, we removed any sort of complexity to the program, so that while we are evaluating what our needs are and deciding what we want to do to enhance our customer experience and our customer journey, we get to offer a very clear and consistent product with very little room to fail. And so as we are now growing that out, we are looking at the innovation side and technical solutions to formerly human problems, and making things simple and choosing partners along that road who are going to learn and grow with us and go through all of sort of the speed bumps and the successful pieces of it, where we took it from a loss center for our airline for a long time to now a profit center.
Okay, cool. And is that reflected in your strategic shift from an ultra low-cost carrier more into a low-cost carrier territory?
Yeah, great clock on that, Jerry. We are moving from the ultra low-cost market, and so Caroline and I can actually fight it out for being the #1 airline for ancillaries in the low-cost region. But we are making sure that's a key part of our strategy to ensure the longevity of our product, and as well as putting ourselves in such a challenging market that Canada is, where we have obviously population issues, we have geographical issues, distance is a big thing, where we can compete with our 2 legacy carriers and give Canadians a low-cost option that's got significantly high value, but also making Flair the easiest airline to fly, both financially, emotionally, and physically, and putting that all into our strategy.
It's interesting that that's how you define a leading airline. It's easy as well as based on revenues and that kind of stuff. Caroline, we mentioned about the unbundling and that kind of repositioning how people buy products. What does that look like at Air France KLM for you at the moment?
Yeah, we're focusing on unbundling, as today I think we have a light, a standard, and a flex fare. But in order to personalize, to be more customer centric, we need to unbundle. Because then we can offer the right offer to our customers. We do that because to personalize, but also in order to optimize our products. Because today, for example, we give hand baggage to everyone, we can also not give Sky Priority to everyone. So we do see that we would like to offer for the value-based customers, but also to more premium customers, a relevant offer.
And Caroline, in a lot of innovation centers around your app side of things, sorry. And how are you developing that in a way that, again, is aligned to your strategy and works with your partners really effectively? How are you building your partnerships to build the app, to build your whole innovation piece? Duncan mentioned about the role of bringing the right people in to join it. How does that work at SAS?
Yeah, so I think we have a great app right now, and I think also we have integrated a lot of partner products into our sales touch points in our channels. But I don't think it's seamless yet, due to that you book through us, but then you cannot retrieve, for example, your booking in the app. So if you bought a lot of travel products with us, like you need to go and find that email for the hotel, or the email for the car rental, or the Arlanda Express ticket if you get on that train, for example. But what we have done now is to start to integrate and retrieve the bookings into the app, so you can find your flight, but also the other partner products. And we started out now with Arlanda Express, which is the airport train between Arlanda and Stockholm. So now when you buy the ticket, it's almost like in our channel, but you do the payment at Arlanda Express. But then right after you have paid, then you get directed to the app, and then you find your train ticket in the app. So it's super easy you have there. And we're also going to do the same now with car rentals. So if you book the car through us, you would also find so to try to make like the whole process a little bit more seamless, so that also the app really becomes like a travel buddy. So I think that's our like next focus. But of course, you need some innovation to be able to get this to work, because it's not that easy.
Yes, and there's a lot of competing travel buddies out there, aren't there?
Yeah.
And, the phone is full of different apps, and you want everyone to be in your app, so make it convenient. So
this is actually when I went to the app team and asked them, like, is this something that we could do? They were keen on doing this, because we have actually received a lot of customer feedback on, for example, car rental. Why can I not find a car rental booking in the app? So they're also really keen on developing this as well.
Right. And I guess from an airline perspective, it means you're more of a part of that passenger's total journey. You're not just kind of dropping in at the airport and disappearing when they arrive. Was that easy to implement when you're working with external organizations, in terms of bringing together the technologies?
it's always hard to say if it's like easy or not, but the app team did it in a couple of weeks with Arlanda Express. So we used their API, but they're really good and did a tech, so I think they did it kind of easily. But of course, with other products, it may take a little bit longer time, because how do we retrieve like the data and how can we gather it to be able to integrate it in a good way? So it requires a little bit more work, but I think this is the way to go for us to be able to grow the partner product business or the ancillary business.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it raises an interesting point as well, because talking about the Arlanda Express integration, you start to get a more complete picture of your passengers and their interactions, particularly if they're booking Arlanda Express regularly. You start to realize their journey and their geography outside of what they're doing with you, the same with car rentals, and all of a sudden those data points start to become more interesting in terms of when we talk about product and offering, what you offer to people, because I think in this space we've heard about personalization, certainly in my time, 15, 20 years, it's been business and leisure travelers and not a lot else. When you start to get those individual data points, you can start to serve up stuff that's much more relevant, because you know people are regularly doing certain things, interacting with certain things, and the more they see that's interesting to them, the more likely they are to spend with you, rather than maybe receive offers for things that are not relevant. So I think once you start bringing the stuff in that you're hearing from your passengers they want to see, you then need to start taking that data and using that to iterate in terms of what you serve up to them as well.
Well, and those data points also help in the customer journey so much, because if you are IROPT for whatever reason, if we hold that type of information, we can support any single one of our customers through that journey for those ancillary products by knowing exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and how we're going to help them. And that's a hugely innovative type product.
Yeah. Thank you, Duncan. Just going back to your point about the data, are airlines collecting the right kind of data that will inform the decisions about making genuine, innovative products and services? Because it sometimes feels there's a lot of transactional, operational data, which is understandable, given the nature. Are airlines, from where you see, collecting the right qualitative and kind of the emotional side of things, as well as the kind of pure mechanical data side of things?
I think today they're collecting it, but I think in quite a lot of cases it's siloed. So there'll be the onboard retail where people will be making their purchases on the plane. Are you linking that to a passenger by scanning a boarding pass? And that will vary airline by airline. So does the airline I'm flying with know what I've spent with them? Maybe, but they could well have that data point. Do they have my loyalty? Do they have my frequency of travel? What other options I spend? Yes. Is it siloed? In a lot of cases, quite possibly, right? Bringing that together is going to give you much more opportunity to really know your passenger. And I think, you hear these old tropes about personalization, but with the technology that's available, it is the end of the kind of era of doing things the old-fashioned way. You can take a leaf out of the retail book and start to use those data points to be able to personalize. But answering your question, the airlines have a wealth of data. Bringing it together is challenging, but with the technology that's available now, it's very possible. When you start seeing things like onboard connectivity, that's going to increase that as well, because not only is there going to be more data points on passenger interaction, there's also going to be more opportunity to get that data back to the ground quicker as well. So the picture is evolving, maybe not as fast as we see in some industries, but the data is there to do it today.
Right. Okay. And Caroline, do you have the data that allows you to create innovative propositions for your sort of premium customers? Can you segment it by different types of customer?
Yeah, overall we really focus on our premium customer. You see more and more that we adjusted our aircrafts, bigger premium comfort cabin, for example. Using it, we are very much data focused. So, for example, we need on board that we ask them to scan the boarding pass or anything, but then we have the unions, or if anything, it's more work, it's not customer friendly, and that's always hard because we really want the data to have a better offer to our customers. So we're really working on the ancillary recommenders. So doing some tests there, like if we know that this is that type of customer that we recommend, for example, an extra legroom seat or something else. So we continuously testing how to optimize the trip, but also the conversion, of course, of the passenger.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you organise that, if you don't mind me asking, in terms of how do you get the feedback from customers that says, yes, you're on the right track, you're developing the right propositions, this is what we need? Do you run sort of focus groups, or how do you get the customer feedback into that proposition development side of things when you're innovating?
How we innovate, I think it differs. For example, sometimes we do with kind of a fake door. So we had now a test on Notify Me. Do you want to get notified if there's an upgrade available? And then people click on it, and then we say, we don't have the product yet, but anyhow, then we know if there's appetite because of the limited IT resources. We have other things are in it. We also another thing on the upgrade part. We're kind of looking how to position it. So we have focus groups indeed with Flying Blue and others that we show a few kind of offers for upgrade and what would be their response. But I find it hard with focus groups because normally the data says more because people are not used to changes. So do you want that? No, I don't want, to pay for Wi-Fi, but in the end, if you have it, people are doing it. So I find focus group, we edit as maybe there are new ideas coming, but in the end, I think the data is more leading for us to develop new products.
And I guess, sorry. Please.
No, and I think at KLM, I fly a lot with KLM, they have onboard Wi-Fi now, and there was a change recently where you have to have a Flying Blue membership to log in, so they're now getting the data of who is using the free Wi-Fi, and you can see the iteration time over time, and all these start to give you more and more data points of the interaction. I think the onboard Wi-Fi was initially anybody, and now you have to be a loyalty member. So step by step, you get there.
And I guess you need the data to make the case for change, don't you? It's a lot. It's building the business case, which will be a topic of a panel later this week. But sorry.
And it's interesting that we are evolving this in 2025 when the loyalty to have free Wi-Fi is a lesson we all learned in the late 1990s when Fairmont rolled it out in their rooms, and you had to be a Fairmont Circle member to be able to get the in-room Wi-Fi. And I love that we are now revolutionizing in the terms of 2025 of how that works in our industry, but we're taking these classic lessons of brands before us that have applied this for years.
Yeah. Fully agree.
Yeah. So with the limited resources and as you say, there's always a tension between innovation and, well, the airline wants to do a lot of other things with what it's got. So Duncan, how do you go about choosing the right partnerships to help you drive innovation or build on what ideas you might already have? How do you choose the right partner for that?
I mean, come on, Jerry, wine and dined. No, I'm kidding. I think the procurement process has to be rigorous and has to be followed. There has to be clear guidelines of when you're procuring any type of technology or any type of partner that you're going to be giving sensitive data to. And having that hands-on type of a relationship with your each one of the vendors that were coming through the process of procurement is so important. And when you go to make that decision of who's going to be able to provide you the best product, it can't solely come down to just the dollar amounts, even though some of our folks who look at our balance sheets absolutely want that to be. But the value of selecting a partner that's going to be with you for the ups and the downs, punter intended, for our industry is so important. And having a personalized procurement process for going through that and getting to know the people on the other end of the Teams calls and the other end of the Zooms is going to be what can make or break a relationship in a tough time, and celebrate each other's successes in the challenging times. And so to really vet any organization that's coming in to work with you, I think is really important. And That's why conferences like this are so important, because you get to have that FaceTime that we used to have a lot more of, and it's now been digitized by faces on a screen. Caroline and I had a great catch-up this afternoon, and we had only ever met on a Teams call, which is great, but having that face-to-face interaction and getting a feel for somebody and their ethics, and working through corporate ethics and morals is really important, right? Someone who's pitching a product to you may have the cheapest price in the industry, and that's great, but if they're not ethically along for the same ride as your organization, you could be at a battle of odds. And building those personalized relationships, I just think is so important.
Yeah. Caroline, is that something that you found as well with your relationships with, was it Amelie that you were tying up with, and obviously with Orlando Express and with Starlink as well? What is it that you look for in a partnership that is going to drive you forward to become that best airline?
No, and I think I agree with a lot of more things that you said. It doesn't just come down to what commission can they pay, for example, because if you don't sell your products, you're not going to get any dollars in the end. So what we do when we pick our partners, we usually use like 10 different categories, everything from like customer service, like partner is key, like are they dedicated, do they have the same roadmap, are they innovative, technical platform, sales platform. So we have like 10 different categories, and then we score every potential partner after all these like categories. And then the one that scores the highest is the one that we go with, because then we think it will actually bring the most value. And I think it's so important to really do this heavy work to pick the right partner, because if we decide to go with one, we put a lot of effort and energy to it. It's not like you said, like in a couple months, it's not like we're going to be able to change. Like if you go into a partnership, you're going to go for a few years to work with them. Yeah. And I think, for example, with Merely, they scored really high on these different like categories. But for one thing that we also do due to that, like tech is really important, and my team are not the most tech-savvy people, so we need help. So we bring in our IT department to actually help out to evaluate and set the scores from like the IT part, the technical parts, so that we really align. So it's not only our team that decides which partnership we go with, it's actually a joint collaboration within the company to pick the right partner.
Right, okay, so it's a real healthy mix of different skill sets and experience.
Yeah. And then of course, like going to these conferences and talk to people and ask for like reference calls, it's also a good way to understand if this partner the right one to go with. What do other airlines think, or other partners? Right. It's really important.
Sorry, Duncan.
And to build off what you're saying, it's easy to share each other's successes in those types of partnerships, but having respectful and success-driven conversations when there are challenges, whether it's on the project level, on the personnel level, on the finance level, whatever that is, to hold each other to a respectful account, I think is also sometimes rare. And so selecting a partner is really important about how you're going to communicate with that while celebrating all of the success that you're going to have.
Yeah. Just, sorry, Clara?
No, I was just going to say, because it's always like one thing that we always ask also is like, what do you have on your agenda? What can you improve? If you score yourself in these different categories, what would you self-score? That's also to see, do they have the motivation to actually improve their product and become better? I think that is important as well.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Duncan, you mentioned a couple of times celebrating successes. And it's really interesting because I think in the conversations about improvement and innovation, there's a suggestion that everything is broken and everything's not working. How important is it that you share the little wins, the successes as you go through this process?
Oh, I think it's wildly important to celebrate the successes. And this is not a TED Talk, but I will talk about a little bit about what my leadership style is. I think it's important every time we have a team meeting or every time we have a client meeting, we kick every single meeting off with a recognition moment. It's not there to take away from the agenda or to eat up time. It's there to have an acknowledgement of what the successes have been, whether someone's in the room, whether someone who isn't necessarily attending these meetings has provided to the project, something like that. and understanding that if you start these types of conversations off by looking at the successes, you're going to be able to get through the challenging pieces of it because you know that there's a balance to it. As opposed, I think we can all understand that we've been in a meeting that has just morally destroyed us because it's just been negative and harsh and someone's had a bad time, whether it's an internal meeting or a client meeting or a vendor meeting. And to avoid types of conversations like that, I think helps put together a stronger partnership day by day by day as you're putting in the building blocks of your project, of your product, whatever it is. And it sets the tone for how that project's going to be delivered. And when you get to the end and you can actually celebrate the bid success, no one's forgotten. No one feels like they weren't a part of the project. And no one feels like they are not an active partner in this.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it, how much or how important the culture helps drive things forward. So, thank you. Paul, Caroline mentioned about putting the right team together. Diana mentioned about, again, bringing people in from outside the sector. What do you see that outside of aviation that maybe airlines can learn from in terms of the way they go about their innovation processes?
Well, I guess two things. On the innovation side, innovation is painful because you're going to try things, you're going to fail. You need to embrace that. You need to look at why it's failing and move quickly. You talked, I think, about the onboard upgrades. I upgraded with KLM the other day, first time, thank you, with Miles because it's been persistent and it worked for me on that particular occasion. But being willing to try things and fail is part of innovation and kind of going down that road with your eyes open to that, and the fact that not everything is going to work makes a lot of sense. If you think you're going to get it all right day one, you're not. You need to quickly be able to adapt. In terms of outside of aviation, we work in retail as well, and we see retailers far more advanced in how they use data. And to some degree, that's easier as well because they have a more predictable environment. But a lot of what they do can be mirrored for airlines. So in terms of that hyper-personalization, knowing your customer down to an individual, knowing what they're interested in and what they're not interested in as well, and making sure what you're putting in front of them is at least relevant. Maybe it won't work, but it's much more relevant for them, is something that I think we see happening in retail today. We all use things like Amazon. If you interact with Netflix and say which things you like and which you don't, it starts to filter based on that. Airlines have the ability to do the same thing. You've got multiple touch points with passengers. It's then about the collection of that data and how you're then going to use it. But the opportunities are enormous, and the ability to drive a significant return on that is there. It's just embracing that innovation, knowing some things are going to work, and continually iterating on it.
And I think maybe to add to that, it's also the IT technology, where I think airlines are mainly focused, at least in the legacy, on the operational excellence and not on IT or retail or technology. They see it as maybe a cost, and I think that's really where we have to change. I hope we can change and embrace all the learnings we have from retail and use it in the aviation.
Yeah, and it's a good point because I think Duncan talked about stripping the program back. In the end, for me as a technology company, anything I do needs to provide a return. Just being there to provide you a system is not enough. What's the return? What's the delta on what you're doing today? How are we going to move it forward? And that's how I think you'll see companies working in the future, and those that succeed are going to be looking at this. How do we move the needle from where you are today to where you want to get to?
As Caroline said, it's quite a move for a lot of airlines to shift away from what is obviously number one priority is about safety to a mindset that actually, well, if it doesn't work, it's all right, we'll learn from it and move on. That's quite a shift in the mindset. But yeah, thank you, Paul. Caroline, so what sort of trends are you seeing around the way that passengers are buying airline tickets, or particularly around their seats or their baggage things? Because it seems to be, going back to the original point about unbundling and stuff, what are the trends that are happening there that you're capitalizing on?
one trend, and I don't know if it's coming from the more profitable low-cost carriers, but we see that a lot of people take their hand baggage with them on board, and they take more and more. It's more convenient, it saves cost, and I think they're more sure that it will be, it's not somewhere in Schiphol or CDG stuck. So I think, that's what we see, that's the trend. So we really don't see a really increase in revenue on baggage. So there we are like looking into what's happening in operations, what's happening with the customer needs, and then try to unlock new products. So one of the things is that we now launched a pilot on 10 routes. So on Air France KLM we have 10 routes in Europe which have a basic fare without a hand baggage. And we're now analyzing what is the response of the customer, how does it work, what is impacting our brand reputation, how happy are the premium customers, and what's happening in the operations. Is it helping them to leave on time and to help the operational excellence? So I think it's a very big project we started up. It's until now quite a success. So you see that people are very compliant and they know what they get. So if they just buy a basic fare, they know they have accessory. And we see that more people even buy a check-in baggage than a hand baggage, because and apparently they think it's 23 kilo, then I have a bit more than for that price. So it's interesting, and we try to play with that and steer. On seating, it's different. We see more and more people have appetite to select a seat and to pay for it, because they really want to know where they're seated. And we see that they more and more are also purchasing it during their booking instead of in the check-in window. So that's the other trend we're seeing, and see how we can further now make more seat bundles, etc., to learn and to tap into their needs.
You must have had some interesting conversations with your brand team, I would imagine, in terms of
for sure,
what the expectation is. Are we moving, are we changing what the brand stands for and who it is with all those years of legacy?
Yeah, that's exactly, is it the low cost or whatever, but on the other hand, I think for our premium customers, for our corporate customers, we even have a better base product than many other airlines. So it is more that customers who, I think it's 25% of our customers who's not corporate or flying blue, not having a standard fare, they are maybe even more happy with their basic fare. They only use where they're paid for, so until now we don't see the bad impact. There were some in the Dutch Telegraph there was some discussion about it, but I think it kind of flew over a bit. Yeah.
But again, that's having that corporate courage to just keep going through those little bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Interesting. And Caroline, we were saying there about it's not always about innovation. Isn't always something new that's never been done before. There's, it could apply to a lot of existing products or services. You were talking about the seat upgrades and stuff, and how you're kind of building on that. So rather than starting from scratch, you're taking a look at an existing service and how you can take that to the next level. Tell us a bit about the seat upgrades.
Yeah, because usually you think that, innovation needs to be like maybe on new products, we need to add more things, but sometimes it's just to look at the largest products that you have and maybe say, it's like, what more can we do here? Because we know these products are popular, so if we just do smaller changes here, we can increase attachment rate quite a lot, and that will actually end up being more like revenue in the end. And of course, we need to be so really prioritize all the things, like all the initiatives that we're doing. And what we did is we looked into Upgrade, which is a really popular product, and we thought, how can we increase attachment rate here or gain more revenue? So we added a gamification to the Upgrade product, so that we added this lifetime bidding, so you can actually see what place your bid is. Are you number 1 or are you number 5 or 15? And then if you're at place 15, then I need to add this much money to be able to be on the first place, to be able to get upgraded. And we can see that people actually entering into live bidding, they increase their bids quite a lot. But we also read in forums that people really like this, and they're like, oh, we really like this new feature with the live bidding, because it's kind of like gamification. So it's actually had some customer satisfaction as well. not just the revenue.
But it's funny because we also did bidding at KLM before, and there, but I think it was years ago, and there we had positive. Yeah, you reach a broader scope of customers for upgrade. I think that's very positive. But we got complaints of the crew that they said, yeah, they're taking selfies, they drink all the champagne, like it's a different type of group who is flying. And yeah, at that time we had a bit of disappointed customers who were like really disappointed that they didn't have it. But I think it also, it's also how you offer it to the customer in the end. But,
because now they know, like if they're number one, they will probably get upgraded. But before we invaded this, you couldn't see. You saw it's like, is it strong or medium? But then it would say strong, but you then didn't get it. People would get disappointed. But now it's working.
Fantastic. Duncan, with all the effort that you as an airline are putting into product development, innovations and stuff, is that clouded or compromised slightly if the passenger is then buying a ticket through an online travel agent or a third party? We heard earlier about the way people are buying tickets will change. Just go straight from a Google search to agentic AI, it'll book it for you, so you don't need to go direct to the airline. Is that having an impact on the direction of travel for you?
So the relationship with OTAs, I think, is an extremely important one. And as we are evolving and growing more at Flair, we want to see that relationship grow and evolve as well. And so it's beholden on us as the carrier and as the provider to make sure that our OTAs are equipped with the changes that we are making and the service enhancements that we're providing so that they're representing us correctly. So we've had a lot of work done with our sales team. We've had an evolution of our sales team. We've got a new sales manager. We've got a new partner portal. We've got these things that Flair previously didn't have, which you think as anyone coming from a legacy carrier was like, yeah, of course you have a sales team. We didn't have one. We were solely web funded through our sales team, our sales team was only our website and our OTAs. There was no one actively driving our sales outside of marketing. And so our evolution and our innovation towards an LCC is going to be some of these basic principles that we hadn't previously had because we were coming from the ULCC marketplace. And ULCCs in Canada are historically very successful at going very bankrupt. And we wanted to obviously change that. We had 3 departures from the market in 2023, 2024, including Jetlines, Lynx, Swoop, and we were the sole survivor. And it took a lot of grit, determination, and challenge. And going back to my alignment with Maribouer. And having these evolutions is not new from the playbook, but it is new to us, and it's giving us a fresh set of eyes of how we want to be represented in the OTA world. Right. And as we work within different levels of inclusions, different levels of engagement with different sizes of OTAs, it is going to be beneficial to us as a carrier.
Right. Okay, thank you. And Caroline, is that something that you recognise as well in the work with the OTAs and how you get, even if they've not booked with you direct, by the time you go onto your app, all the products are there, hopefully.
That's a challenge, indeed. But 90% of OTAs are in NDC, so they use our the new distribution system. So I think there we show rich content. But so we're fully focused now on that they show our content, economy comfort, or the seat map, etc., as how we want it. And then during the check-in window, we can reach them via email or the check-in email or a push message. People go to the app to check in, so there we can show all our ancillary products. And at the airport, we also try to enable them to personalize their trip.
Right. Okay, cool. Paul, from your perspective, again, what are the biggest opportunities for airlines, do you think, from a data perspective that will fuel sustainable innovation, if you like, or lasting innovation?
How long do we have? Yes. I think number one is definitely waste. So, we talk about sustainability a lot. We talk about reducing waste. The technology and data is there. So a lot of airlines who are doing either onboard retail or serving food can leverage the data there to significantly reduce waste. I see numbers from different airlines at different levels, but in a world where we're trying to be far more sustainable, you can use the data that's there today, both from consumption and AI-driven forecasting, to significantly reduce both waste on fresh food and all that stuff that's being thrown away, and reduce what you're taking on the aircraft as well. Because even with the ambient stuff, if I'm packing 10 beers for every flight, but on some of them I only sell one or give one away or whatever your model, that's fuel that you're burning. Multiply that up over the course of a year, over the course of a fleet. These are significant numbers. So that's a starting point. You can do that today. Operationally, it's more challenging because you're looking to then pack dynamically based on individual routes, but the data is there to back it up. It just needs a mind shift in terms of how we operate and how we put things together. In terms of the passenger experience, if I'm a passenger, I shouldn't care whether I'm booking directly with the airline or through an OTA. I want to be treated as an individual, and we're not there. We're quite away from getting there, but the opportunities are there to do that. It's going to take people to be brave. It's going to take trying things, and I think we've heard here that everybody's trying things, everybody's moving in this space with a consciousness that we're dealing with unions, that we firstly need to get people safely from A to B. So the opportunities are going to continue to grow. Connectivity on board is going to change an awful lot in terms of passenger interaction, in terms of passenger behavior, in terms of your, as an airline, ownership of them in that space. That could be beneficial if you do it well. It could be to your detriment if I look online and think I'll buy this when I get back on the ground. So there's big opportunity there for the brave to change things, and change is never easy, but I think we're going to see a lot of change in this space over the coming years in terms of how airlines interact with passengers and leverage that technology. And there's revenue benefits, there's passenger benefits, there's sustainability benefits that are all there.
Is that going to change that passenger's mindset? You mentioned, I don't care who I book with, but if airlines get it right, presumably the prize is that you hang on to that emotional engagement, that relationship that you've struck with the passengers.
Yeah, and that is one of the key differentiators. I think a lot of people here are going to travel regularly. We're going to see the similarities and offerings in airport retail, in onboard retail. That differentiation makes you feel like, oh, this is interesting. This is somebody I want to travel with. I mean, KLM, the houses, thank you, they're great, right? It's a small thing, but it makes a big difference, right? It makes you start to feel a connection with the brand and start to feel like you're valued as an individual. And maybe they just like my money, right? But if they look after me, I'm happy spending it. And the more we start to do that, you'll start to see the successes grow for people.
Yeah. Duncan.
Travel is so deeply personal for whatever reason you're getting on board that airplane. What's not so personal is who you hit click with and put in your credit card details. And so if we are entering into relationships with OTAs, it's so important for us to have the correct details and no sort of skip steps, whether it's in the digital process or anything. So when that end user, our customer, is going through their journey, it is seamless. It can be full of IROPS, it can be full of short sell or out of stocks on buy on board, and we as the airline will manage all of that. And it's bringing it back to partnership. It's entering into partnerships with OTAs that know that they're going to work within the reasonable executions that the airline can provide and not set anyone else up for failure, not set the customer up for failure for false promises, not set the airline up for failure for giving the customer false promises. And in disruption management, please just make sure we have the correct email from the OTA. That's all I ask.
So everybody on the flight has the same email address because it's the OTA. Exactly. No, not without challenge. We've got just 5 minutes left. Does anybody have a question of our panel? I think hopefully we have a microphone somewhere. No? Okay. Well, we'll keep going. A general question, actually, which is kind of code for I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. How do you go about prioritizing what you choose to do and not do? So when you are looking at your innovation roadmaps, how, without sharing anything confidential, what are the prioritization criteria that will say, okay, look, because of this, this, and this, we're going to, that's got a higher priority than this? Is it about revenue generation? Is it about brand engagement? Is it about something else? Just be interested on your thoughts about either what it is or what you think it should be. So, yeah.
Now within Air France KLM, I think we still position ourselves as a premium brand. So premiumization is important. It's a big focus from our higher management. And the other hand, yeah, of course, is revenue. So continuously, but we always try to find the sweet spot between improving operational processes, improving customer satisfaction, and revenue generation. So it will never be only revenue generation while it has impact on, I don't know, the operations and the customer NPS. So we really try to find that sweet spot, and so we pitch our decks and
Right.
new ideas to our management.
Right, okay. It must be really helpful to have those guidelines to help you make that decision. So, yeah. Sorry, Duncan.
Yeah, of course, revenue generation is extremely important, and that has to remain a key priority for us. But when we're balancing the decision to go forward with a project, to increase exposure to a product, whatever that is, I tell my team time and time again, we are working on the Flair Forward initiative. We're trying to do better. So does this make the journey easier for the customer, financially, emotionally, or physically? If it doesn't do that, this is not something we're going to move forward with. We like to keep it as simple as possible and obviously generate some revenue.
Yeah, but it's great to have that kind of, again, the parameters of which then people will understand if you're not taking forward their favorite idea or something like that. So yeah, fantastic. Sorry.
No, I think from my perspective, it's one word: impact.
Right.
So in terms of being a technology provider, what is the downstream impact I can drive? Is it increased revenue? Is it increased passenger satisfaction? Is it reducing waste? If there's no impact from it, difficult to quantify. So it's impact for me.
Yeah, cool. And
just one thing to add, I think you said it pretty well there, but also how long does it take to develop this new feature or initiative? Like, will it take a few years? Maybe not, but if it is like a couple of weeks, or days, then we'll go for it. So of course the effort and resources also, we need to get in there.
Yeah, but the time scale is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because it's if it's 6 months, it's going to be where were you 6 months ago kind of thing. So it's interesting. That time horizon is just coming closer and closer, isn't it? So,
And then of course, can you take help from a partner by doing this, or do you have to build it yourself? It's also something to add to it, I think.
Yeah, cool. We have a minute left. One quick question for each of you then. If you were to sum up, if there's one secret ingredient, if you like, to creating, I was going to say fantastic customer experiences, but customer experiences that keep passengers coming back. They share, they tell others about it, they want to repeat it, they're happy to pay more for it, and advocate for it. What would it be? What's the secret ingredient for that, those magical customer experiences? Who wants to go first?
I'll leave the airlines till last because from my perspective, it's collaboration. So where I can help, to collaborate with the airline to give what their passengers are asking them to do, and where I can collaborate with other providers so that the airline is able to get a complete picture from one or more providers.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you.
For us, it's about making the customer experience easy. I know I've said it time and time again, but we want to be the easiest airline to fly and the easiest airline to interact with. So for us to create that experience, we have to make it easy. Remove all friction, remove all the challenge and pain points, and turn those moments into memories or something cheesy like that.
Yeah, but it does. But you made the important point that it's easy financially, easy physically, as well as kind of in the mindset. So brilliant. Thank you, Duncan.
And I think I totally agree. But the one thing I'm thinking of, like, still with pride and look outside your industry, your niche, there are other ones out there that may do things better than us. So steal with pride and be bold.
Yeah, be bold. Yeah, no, absolutely. Caroline, what's the...
The first thing that comes to mind is IT resources, because I think if we have so much more IT resources, we can be have much better products and the process, etc. And just common sense. Just think about, okay, what is good for the customer, what is good for operations. There's so much opportunities out there. If you go to the airport, if you fly yourself, I think you can see some processes which we can improve. And I think that's what I do. I listen. I tried to fly this morning top, just to see what's around there and use your common sense. Like, what are the key opportunities we could grab? But and ideally IT. But
and a great point to finish on. Paul, Caroline, Daniel, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, panel. Let's go.